that is originally from the Boston or Maryland area. So far, she hasn't called in. So if you hear a real loud Skype ringing in sound, then that's what that will be. You push record. All right. All right, good. So we're trying out some new stuff on the live stream. So if you're watching there, we should be switching between camera angles, and Lodi's gonna be kind of playing with some stuff there. So if it just goes crazy and crashes, then we'll figure it out. We'll get it restarted. But we're recording, so you could always listen to the recording or check it out on YouTube if I upload it to there. But then it would probably just be audio if all the video stuff crashes. So if Mary jumps in, then I'll try and make sure it's not too loud. And if she doesn't, then we've got a couple different stories we can tell, and maybe it'll just be a shorter episode today. So that being said, if you would like to comment, Leslie is on her first time as the Today's Meet moderator. So that's todaysmeet.com/sports medicine broadcast. Again, that's todaysmeet.com/sports medicine broadcast. If anytime you have a comment, you want to jump in that chat room, and then Leslie can either answer it there or she'll ask the question on the microphone, and then we can all figure out the answer. If you want to check out our live stream, check out any of the other information, you go to our website, www.pasadenaisd.org/phs/athletic training. There's lots of stuff there for you to check out. All right, so without much further ado, we're going to get to our first warm-up topic. Oh, yeah, I put the introductions way down. All right, so of course, I am your host, Jeremy Jackson, and with me is
Claudia, Leslie,
Monica,
Karen,
Priscilla,
Caitlin,
Daisy.
And then, like I said, Lode is doing the live broadcast feed, and then Crystal and Suzette are taking pictures, because you know how we like to take pictures, high school girls, and then, of course, I look so good, you can't help but take pictures of me, so that's what I'm here for, a good laugh. All right, last week we had some interesting news from one of our students. About 3 weeks ago, we started or finished doing the CPR testing, and then about 2 weeks ago, I think one of our students, she was struggling with the CPR test, but she finally passed it. And then last week, Monica, one of my sports medicine students, she's not one of my athletic trainers, but she's a sports medicine student, actually had to perform CPR, and she said she wanted to go ahead and tell that story today. So again, if you have questions, you can type them in there for Leslie to ask her. Other than that, just hear Monica's story.
I was in the shower. I was in the shower, and then I got out. I hear my mom like crying, and then like I see my stepdad passed out on the ground in the living room, and then I run to him, and I checked. I was like, is he breathing? And then she says, no, he's not. And then I was like, just go call 911 or something. And then I just I did the 30, and she came back before, and I was like, just give him 2 breaths, because I didn't want to do it, and I didn't have like a face mask or whatever. So I told her to do it, and then I think I did that for like a couple more seconds. And by that time, they were already there, because we live like right down the street from the fire department. And they got there, and they just started, and then I hear other machines, and they told me go upstairs. I was like, okay, so I just sat there and on the stairway watching. And so then they did that for like 15 minutes, and then they just took him away for a while.
All right. So, did you when you said you did it for a couple of seconds, do you have any idea how long, how many cycles of CPR or any of that?
Maybe a minute or less.
And so your mom hadn't called 911 before you got.
No, like right when he passed out, she was like looking at him, and then she was about to go call, but like whenever I got there, she was already. I think she was calling or something, because I told her.
So it took the EMS like 2 minutes, 3 minutes to get there.
Possibly.
So you had
It's like right down the street.
So you had to perform CPR for like about 2 minutes, maybe.
Maybe it didn't feel like that long though. Maybe, I think.
All right. So I have never had to perform CPR. I've been CPR certified for approximately 15, 16, I don't know, 18 years, something like that. And I have never once had to CPR, and so Monica, being a brand new CPR certified person, has already had more real life experience with CPR than me, uh, and I honestly don't know what it's like in that moment of what do you do in that emergency situation. I've had kids unconscious, I've had broken femurs, but I've never once had somebody with a that was not breathing or did not have a pulse. So, and then it's for me, it's really cool that I was able to train you, but ultimately, he said he did not make it correct.
No.
And so, I mean, I'm glad that you at least had the opportunity to do something instead of just stand there. And again, I'm sorry, and I have sympathy for you and your family. That I hope that you continue to heal and deal with the loss of your stepdad. So, Monica, thank you for sharing your story. All right. So, anything else? Anybody? Any other questions? I know she kind of told you guys this story. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Monica about the real life situation? No. All right. I'm gonna try Mary again. I see she was on the Google Docs, and so I'm gonna give that a shot on Skype. So let me turn it down just a little bit so it's not so loud for you guys. Hello. I think it's connecting. I think it hasn't hung up on us yet. Does that mean it hung up? No answer. No answer. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of ad lib it. Claudia said she has a little bit of a story. Right after we talked about splinting and we learned splinting, that she had a little experience with that. So Claudia.
It's because we're at the hospital because of my mom. One of the tile things fell on her, like the top ones, and well, we had to take her to go get like, a head scan, I think. And like the patient next to us, I guess she had broken her foot, and like they were explaining to her what they were gonna do, and it's like they were gonna splint her foot or her ankle, and then I was like, oh, or like we had learned that the day before, like 2 days before in class. I thought it was pretty cool.
All right. So you said you were basically trying to be a creeper and watch what
Yeah,
they were doing.
basically, I was like, she was like, because there was nothing separating, it was like only the curtain. So I was like looking through the curtain and watching. Sorry.
No, that's a great way to learn things. I mean, so there's sometimes I do little side jobs or whatever, and I will sometimes take my student trainers because, like at a volleyball tournament with 3,000 volleyball players, you're gonna see a lot of injuries. You never know what you're gonna see, so it's a good chance to see and be exposed to injuries and stuff where you're gonna have to be taping or splinting or evaluating things that you might not see, right here because you only see, 20, 30 people a day, whereas in that one day you see, 3,000 kids or whatever, or there's 3,000 athletes playing on that at that one facility. So it's a good way to learn. You just watch and be nosy. But don't be taking like pictures or videos or something. You might get arrested. So, all right. So it says Mary's logged into the Google Doc. I'm gonna try and call her again. Share. There we go. That was real loud. Mary, you there?
Yes, I am.
All right.
I'm gonna switch my mic to this though. Okay.
All right. So I can see your video, but we're not gonna have video on this end because my webcams are hooked up to a different camera than my Skype computer. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
All right. And so the live feed will have several different camera angles. And I think if you were to try and watch the live feed, it might mess you up because it's one of those radio delay type things, I believe. So.
Well, I have that on mute and I have this one on headphones, so I should be okay.
All right. Oh, there you go. That'll work. All right. So you still. Okay. So welcome, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let me give you a quick introduction for our guest today. I don't actually know Mary. This is the first time I've ever talked to her. Met her on Skype. She, I think, listened to one of the episodes, and I was like, well, hey, what's your story, kind of thing. And and she's like, well, I'd be happy to come in and talk sometime. So obviously, I think you're in Missouri right now.
I'm in Denver.
Denver. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, there's several different colleges that you place. She wrote some of the stuff on the show notes and stuff.
Yeah.
So she's been around a little bit. So traveling to Houston for a podcast for 45 minutes is probably not an option. But she's currently a student, an athletic training student, Metropolitan State University of Denver. There you go. And this is
Yep.
your 4th year in the program.
hmm So I'm a senior, so I'm taking my certification exam in January or February, depending on the dates.
All right. So in Denver or in Colorado, is there a licensing exam or is it just the national certification?
We just have the national certification, and I think they have licensing, but I haven't really been paying attention to that because I don't plan on working here. I'm planning on going back to the East Coast. So
All right. So going back to the East Coast, in Texas here we have the licensing exam, and then but you have to be state licensed to work in Texas. Even if you're nationally licensed, you still have to have passed the state test. So
Okay.
that's just how it is, and it's different, each state. But anyways, let me tell you a little bit about. I think can y'all hear an echo?
Yes.
Yeah, I think your speakers are echoing there or something like that, but it's okay. I think we'll deal with it. All right. All right. So Mary is originally from outside of Washington D.C. in the Maryland suburbs. An accomplished triathlete. She's won several events, and you planning on going to Hawaii, Mary?
that's the goal at some point, but I have to qualify for it first. So we'll see. Maybe in like 10 years when I can actually afford it.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right, so we will kind of talk about the triathlete stuff. We just talked about one of the people with Ironman Sports Medicine Institute. She's a nutritionist for the. She went to Hawaii for the Ironman Championships there. So,
Oh, nice.
anyways,
Jealous.
yeah, it's pretty good when your job pays for you to go to Hawaii for a week and just talk to people about food. Huh?
Milk.
Yeah,
Yeah, chocolate milk. So.
Milk.
chocolate milk is the best.
Okay, so without much further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, where are you from, hometown, that kind of thing. You probably tell it a lot better than I would. So.
Yeah. So I'm from Rockville, Maryland, and I went to high school at the Academy of the Holy Cross, which is an all-girls school, probably about 10 minutes from where I grew up. And I've gone to Montgomery College, which is a community college back home, and Salisbury University. I went there for a year and realized I needed to be in a city. And that was also in Maryland, but that was about 3 hours from where I'm from and about a half an hour from the beach, which was a main draw, but that wasn't enough to keep me there. And then I decided to come out here to Denver. So now I go to MSU Denver, and I love it out here. It's a nice change, but it'll be good to get back east.
All right, so that's a lot of schools.
Yeah. But I finally figured out where I needed to be, so it all worked out.
How did you decide on becoming an athletic trainer?
So my junior year of high school, we had this huge project that we had to do for one of our religion classes, where we had to do taxes and stuff and figure out what we wanted to do for a career. And I wanted to do PT, and that was a grad program, so I had to find something else to do for undergrad. And I was like, athletic training looks cool. And then I started interning with my high school athletic trainer and fell in love with it, and here I am. Almost done.
All right, so up there where you in your high school, did y'all have an athletic trainer that worked at the school, or did they work through a clinic? And so how did that work there?
They worked at our school. They were full-time at our school. So, but we also had one assistant in the fall because our athletic trainer was also a volleyball coach. So we had two in the fall and then one the rest of the year.
Yeah, athletic trainer was also the volleyball coach.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So. All right. All right. So, like I said, Mary's got a pretty interesting story, and so Karen's got a question for you, Mary.
Can you tell us about your brain tumor?
Yep. So I found out that I had it after I was snowboarding in Vail, and I was at the bottom by the lift trying to slow down, and I hit a sticky patch of snow and crashed, and then I dislocated my shoulder, subluxed some ribs, and got a concussion. And the concussion was taking a really long time to get better from, and so I eventually went and saw a neurologist, and he did like all the neurological testing and stuff, and um, then decided that I needed an MRI because I was having some major speech retrieval issues and hypoglossal nerve involvement that no one caught before, even after having a CT scan 3 days after the crash because I was vomiting. And that's not a good sign after having a concussion and less than 72 hours later. But then they did the MRI and they saw it on the MRI, and I had to go get another MRI with contrast, and it just lit up like a Christmas light. So then I went and saw 2 surgeons back home, one at Hopkins and one at Children's National Medical Center. And they both agreed that I needed to have surgery to remove it. And it was either I could wait and watch it, but if it grew at all, then I would have to have emergency surgery. So I was like, I'm just going to do it this summer and get it over with. So I had surgery that summer in June, at the beginning of June, to repair the torn capsule from the dislocation and the torn labrum. And then 3 weeks later, I had surgery to remove the tumor. And it was a grade 1 cerebellar juvenile pilocytic astrocytoma. So completely benign, one of those ones that if they do get it all, it's pretty much cured. But I still have to get follow-up MRIs every year now. But they've all been clean so far, so.
All right. So now I'm looking for a volunteer to repeat the name of the thing that she just said. Something. I don't even. Astrolytic. I don't even know. Anybody? Anybody
No.
takers? Takers?
No.
Come on, somebody can do it. All right, so that was a huge, huge word. All right, so from just
Yeah.
snowboarding, a concussion leading to a brain tumor.
Mm-hmm.
I would not
But
have.
they've. Go ahead.
I said I would have not have figured that. I would have. I mean, I guess usually you just think of brain tumors just occurring randomly, but
Well, I had already had it in high school because they did a CT scan when I was in high school because I was having migraines all the time, but they missed it because it looked just like a shadow in the CT scan. So I've had it. They just happened to find it because I got an MRI because my concussion wasn't getting better.
gotcha.
So it's pretty lucky that I got that concussion.
One of my students asked. She said migraines can cause the. Oh yeah, the tumor can cause a migraine.
Yeah, they can. They can cause all sorts of weird symptoms depending on where it is in your brain. So because mine was in my cerebellum, I was starting, even before I crashed, I had been starting to have balance problems, and I was hitting my head on everything because I didn't have that perception of where my body was in space anymore. So it would have been found eventually because my balance probably would have gotten so bad. But then other tumors will like affect your personality or memory, so just depends on its location.
All right, so is that something that is going to, I guess, affect you later on, like as you continue? Have you had any symptoms since you had that taken care of, as far as like balance and any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, actually this summer I started having balance problems again, so my neurosurgeon ordered another MRI, but everything was still clear, so they weren't sure why I was having any issues because it got better after the surgery, even without, I didn't do any physical therapy to get my balance back. It just kind of came back as soon as they took the tumor out.
All right, very cool. All right, so I'm looking at you live. Are you sitting in your dorm room there at college? Or are you in an apartment?
Yeah, I'm in my apartment.
Did you clean up before?
I did.
So So yes, just I don't think. So your picture, your dorm room won't be on the YouTube and all that stuff. So just in case you're wondering, but me and my
Uh,
students can see you because I have you on the projector and I can see you on my monitor. So
yeah.
all right. So if we have any more questions about that, we'll come back to it. But
Who encouraged you to become an athletic trainer?
Well, once I started interning at my high school athletic trainer was a huge influence on me continuing this because it was definitely not easy once I got in the program to stick with it. And my parents have been a huge factor in it also. Anytime I wanted to give up, they've just been like, you can do it. Like, you know, you love this and you're really good at it. So you just have to keep working hard and it'll all pay off. And actually, also, my mentor, who's also an athletic trainer and a PT, has been a huge factor and always there being like, you can do it. So definitely makes a huge difference having people there to support you through such a tough program. Because this is not like any other college major where you just go to class and then you're done with school after you're done with class for the day. Like, we have to still go and do our clinicals. So it's not easy.
all right. So then tell us a little bit about your typical schedule there.
So this semester is kind of weird because I'm not doing a clinical rotation, but generally when I do have a clinical rotation, we have class Monday through Thursday, and we have 6:30 a.m. classes um, for our major because there's so many kids on campus. Uh, and so I'll go to class,
Those
and we have,
those 6:30 classes, are they just for the athletic training students or?
yeah, just athletic training. And then I'll go home for a couple hours, eat, make a snack for later, and then we do most of our clinical rotations at high schools in the Denver metro area, which is something unique about our program. Most schools, you're doing your internship at the college with the college teams, but we have so many people in our program and so few sports that we do high schools. So we'll go to the high school at like 2:30, depending on when they get out of school, and then we're there until their sports are done for the night. And then we do that Monday through Saturday generally, and then go home and work on more homework.
All right. Sounds like a very busy day. It's possibly more busy than mine, is because you're doing kind of the same job as me. Um, However, you're still having to go do studying and homework and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it's,
and we spend a lot of time driving.
how far is your school from your university from
It's
your high school?
It just depends on the school you get assigned to. So sometimes I've had internships where it takes me 6 minutes to drive there from my apartment, and then other times where it takes me 45 minutes to an hour. So
That's a pretty good
just,
drive.
yeah.
All right. So now you're living. Of course, you grew up in Maryland, so you're used to like snow and cold weather, right?
We actually don't get that much snow. That's why I moved out here. I love the snow. So, but I do know how to drive in the snow, so it's not too bad. But I am used to the cold weather. So,
Gotcha. So that wasn't a huge adjustment going from to Denver. Like if I went to
no.
Denver, I mean, if there's ice on the road here in Houston, people we shut down school. I'm serious.
Oh, that's how it is at home too. It was awesome. We used to get off of school for like an inch of snow.
Really, I would not have expected that being
Yeah.
on the upper East Coast.
Does she miss home? Do you
I do miss home. It's hard being so far away, and flights are so expensive that, like, when there's family events, I don't get to go to them because I'm here. So that's another reason for moving back east after graduation.
All right. So real quick, what is the name of your high school athletic trainer, and are they still there?
His name is Ricky, and I cannot pronounce his last name still to save my life, so I'm not going to even try. It's very long, and he is still there. So
All right. So Ricky, good job. Thanks for encouraging Mary and sending her towards the athletic training profession, whatever your last name is.
What sports have you worked with?
I've worked with pretty much everything except for, I think hockey is the only big one I haven't worked with yet. But football, soccer, field hockey, swimming, cross country, softball, basketball, volleyball. Ultimate frisbee is probably the only weird one that I've worked with. Um, Lacrosse, basketball, or baseball, track and field, tennis, wrestling, and cheerleading.
So you worked with all those in college or in between college and high school?
Yeah. So the most of them, like football, I've done in college working. I've did with the college team at the school I used to go to, and also with the high school teams in the Denver area.
Just what? All right, Caitlin was trying to ask me something on the slide, but I guess she doesn't realize that there's like two webcams pointed at her, so everybody's seeing it.
There's no need.
Oh, I
You
already
already
asked
asked
that one.
her.
Oh,
That's why I asked it,
Oh.
so there was so we didn't have to do this right here.
sorry.
That's all right. Hey, good though. I'm glad that you're kind of following along. All right, so Mary, when I was in college at Houston Baptist University, I was like the baseball trainer for 2 years. So if baseball had practice, I was there. If baseball had a game, I went with them, or I set up and was there for the game and took down all that stuff. Is that kind of how you've gone through your program there?
If you're an upperclassman for us, so if you're a junior or senior, you get assigned to one of the sports at our college, and you'll do that same thing. So you go to all of their practices, all of their games. But for the most part, there's only one person assigned to each sport, so only I think like 5 to 10 people a school year are doing that. And I'm actually not very interested in doing collegiate, so I don't even know if I'm going to end up having one of those rotations, which either way I'm fine with. It's just kind of the luck of the draw on how the way our program does it is they assign you to your clinical rotations based on like your personality and how well you would get along with the athletic trainer, so that everyone always has a good experience and you get the experience that you want and that you need for what you want to do in the future.
All right. Yeah, at HBU, I was baseball for 2 years, and then volleyball for a year, and then men's basketball for 2 years. But we only had, it was a internship program, and we only had 5 student trainers, and we had 5 sports. So it was pretty much you got one student trainer for the sport, and then that was it. So
Yeah.
What is
So that
your
was before. Oh, go ahead.
sorry? What is your plan after college?
So after college, I'm planning on going back east. I really want to go to med school, so I'm planning on doing a post-bac pre-med program. But if I do it, whether or not I do it this year or right after graduation or waiting a year, we'll see where I get in and what job opportunities I get. But then working for a little bit and taking the MCATs and applying to med school.
That's lots of school.
Yeah, it is a lot of school. But sometimes, even though I'm not the biggest fan of school, I know it's what I have to do in order to do everything I want to do. So it's worth it.
all right. So what happened to the physical therapy plan?
I've just been flip-flopping between that and med school for about 3 or 4 years. I just realized that PT, I didn't really want to be just doing rehab all the time. I really like surgery, so that's just what made me decide to do med school instead.
So have you been in and seen surgeries, like go to the surgeries with your athletes and stuff like that, or is it just
Not
just
yet, but I'm always like looking them up online and watching them online, or watching like the medical shows that they have on TV, and I can sit there and eat and watch them like cutting someone open or suturing and stuff. So
Yeah, I'm sure in just a second you'll see the ugly faces some of the girls are making, like, oh, that's nasty. But hey, it's kind of what you have to be able to take to do that stuff, right?
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how I react when I'm actually in an OR, because I know the sounds and the smells get to you more than necessarily watching it. So it'll be we'll see if I still like it after I go watch it, but I think I will.
All right, so
It's just so cool.
So at HBU, we didn't have cadaver labs because it's a private college. Do y'all have cadavers there?
We do, but to get into cadaver anatomy is very difficult unless you're a bio major.
Oh,
So,
really?
hmm
Gotcha. And so you're not having to do biology major stuff right now, right? Because I know for pre-med it's a lot of
No.
biology and chemistry stuff.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to do a post-bac pre-med program because then I'll get all of that just in 1 year.
Gotcha.
What's the best part of being an athletic trainer?
Seeing your athletes return to play after you've spent weeks with them, like rehabbing and like getting them confident in their ability to play again. Because a huge thing after a big injury, especially, is just having confidence that that injured part is going to actually hold up when you're playing and you're not going to hurt it again. So that's one of the biggest, best parts, I think, of it. And then one of the coolest things I've been able to experience is I actually interned with Washington Freedom, which was a women's pro soccer team back east. And there were a lot of Olympians on that team from, there was one from Japan, one from France, Canada, a bunch from the US, and one from Australia. So watching the Olympics this summer was really cool knowing people on every single team that got a medal for women's soccer. So that was definitely one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to experience.
So you knew the people that were on.
hmm
I think the echo is for me. I have speakers. Yeah, I think that's what it was. The echo earlier was because I have speakers in the ceiling, and so it's kind of playing that, and so then the microphones are picking that back up. So then I turned it up so that one of my students could hear because we have the students in the background there, but turn it up too loud, then it's picking it back up and refeeding it. That's why. So we're trying out lots of new things. Sorry for the a little bit of randomness there, especially if you're
That's
watching the
alright.
live stream. I've been a little, troubleshooting. So okay, we are with Monica again.
What's the worst part of athletic training?
Probably the crazy amount of time we spend just between class and our rotations and doing homework because the workload is insane and you're trying to get all so much information remembered and applied in such a short amount of time that it's really hard to just take a day and just like relax and let your brain just kind of decompress and just not being able to be a quote unquote normal college student is hard, especially when you live with other people who are not in your major and they're always going out and you just want to go out so bad, but you know that if you do, then you're not going to get all your homework done and stuff. So that's one of the things I miss a lot. But when you keep in mind that all that hard work is really going to be worth it when you graduate and you're going to be able to get a job and like love what you do, it's you can't really put a price on that, and those few experiences you miss are it's worth it in the end.
See, I need to start writing stuff down. I was thinking it was a good question. Oh, I know it is. I have a few. I was talking about 3 of my student trainers yesterday at football practice, and they were talking about they were interested in working with the professional sports team, which right now our professional football team is like top of the league, the Houston
Yeah.
Texans. Yep. and so they were saying, I want to work with, the Texans are professional sports. Do you have any interest in, or have you ever had interest in being an athletic trainer for professional sports team?
I did have interest in working for a professional sports team, but now that I've been in the field longer, I realize that's not what I want to do. I don't want to be working 7 days a week for 16 hours a day each day. So it's just not something that appeals to me, like leaving all the time. Like I like traveling and stuff, but having to go somewhere different every single weekend, I think would really start to drive me crazy.
All right, so you're kind of in the position where if you wanted to work with a professional sports team, how difficult would it be for you to get involved with professional football or professional baseball, basically like a guy-dominated sport?
It would be very difficult. Right now, there's only one female athletic trainer in the entire NFL, and she works for Pittsburgh, I believe. So the best way to get in is to be able to get one of their internships that they have and get your foot in the door and get your name out there. And baseball also has internship opportunities also, but I don't know of any female athletic trainers in baseball. So that would be, it's a good goal, and I think it's going to become more common because this field is becoming more female. There are a lot more females going into the profession, but I think it's still going to take time for some, especially some of the good old school people to kind of accept that we know what we're doing and can handle being in that situation.
Yeah, I know that our Houston Rockets had a trainer. I think her name was Missy Leggett. She was the head athletic trainer for the Houston Rockets for a little while, but now there's a man doing it. I don't know, what the reason for any of that was, but so I think maybe basketball is possibly more common.
It might be. I never looked into NBA because I was never interested in doing NBA, but I did look into NFL and MLB. So.
Wow, very convenient that I asked that then.
Yeah.
So hopefully Daisy was actually one of the students that was sitting there asking about that question, and so I wanted to get your perspective on that since there's probably nobody better than a college senior. So you said never mind.
Yeah,
Why?
I don't want to work that much each
Yeah.
day.
I did an internship with the Houston Texans, and training camp was ridiculous. I was telling them, we'd get there at 6:30 in the morning and leave like at 10 o'clock at night for a month straight, no matter what day it was. And it's just,
Yeah.
it's not what you think it is until you get there and you experience it. So
I did really like working with women's pro soccer though, but it wasn't as crazy of a schedule. I think they were much better at being balanced outside of just you're there all day long. Like we'd be there probably from 8 or 9 in the morning to maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on what time they had practice.
So is that during?
wasn't.
Do they have like a training camp, or is that during just like their regular practice type season?
They did have training camp, and that was actually in March. So I was still taking class, so I didn't help them with training camp. But as soon as like midterms were over, I started going straight from school to the soccer field to go intern every day.
Gotcha. I know how that works. So,
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, I will finally be done med school. So hopefully I'll be in the middle of residency for either neurosurgery or oncology. Just depends on what really gets more of my interest throughout med school.
all right, and so it sounds like both of those are pretty spurred on by your life experience, neurosurgery and oncology.
Yeah.
Both.
They definitely are. So throughout, like, finding out that I had a brain tumor and being the age that I am, so I was 21 when I found out. So you're on that edge of being in peds, but not yet being in the adult neurosurgery clinics. So it was really frustrating just because I wanted to be like with kids my age or like people my age, and I don't know anybody my age who's had a brain tumor or has been in the same similar situation that I've been in. And there's just been so little gains in survival rates for young adults that it's just really encouraged me to kind of go to med school to focus on that age group to help them out, because I know what it's like to be in that situation, and it sucks not being like so in the middle and not having a doctor that specializes in your age group.
That's a pretty good motivation there. And
Yeah.
the more we do this, the more I hear people that have, they got injured and they went to a chiropractor, and so they became a chiropractor. They got injured and went to a physical therapist, became a physical therapist, and that's kind of what you're saying again is, just your life experience is really leading you to the path of, the career that you're going to choose.
Yeah, and it's the same for me with athletic training. I was hurt all the time in high school, so I was always in the athletic training room getting treated. So definitely spurred that one on too.
Well, this basically answers the question. Have you ever been treated by another expert or athletic trainer?
I have been. So I've been treated by the athletic trainer at my high school, and then I went to physical therapy starting my senior year to finally get everything under control because my knees were just miserable all the time. So I started doing PT, and one of the PTs I've worked with was also an athletic trainer. And she's also now my mentor, and I interned with her because she worked with Washington Freedom's W League team, so their amateur team. So I've definitely been treated by my fair share of physical therapists.
Is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners?
I think one big thing is to always wear a helmet. Because when I got my concussion, I was wearing a helmet, and that probably, if not, kept my concussion from being way worse than it was, if not possibly saving my life. So I am definitely a huge proponent of wearing your helmet, no matter how stupid you think you look. Because I'll be riding my bike out on the trails here, and I'll see people riding without a helmet, and then I pass them, and they've got their helmet like on their handlebars. And I'm like, really? If you've got it with you, you might as well wear it because you never know. You may think you can control, like, when you're gonna fall and stuff, but you can't control what other people are gonna do, and that's when you tend to get hurt. So, it's my big thing is wear a helmet.
I like that. I've I would have never worn a helmet when I was, in high school or even in college. And it wasn't until now I have two kids, so I ride my bike to work sometimes. And I was like, if I'm gonna be riding on the streets, I need a helmet. If I fall, I need to be able to, protect myself because I have people to take care of. And I've told this story once before. I was riding through a field with my son on the back. He's in a bike seat, and we hit a pothole. And before I know it, my face is hitting the ground, like hitting my handlebars in the ground. And he's flipping over, but like my helmet hit, so it shifted a little bit and reduced the blow to my head. Otherwise, I mean, my son might have been laying, on his side in a carrier with me unconscious if I hadn't been wearing a helmet. I mean, you never know, but
Yeah. And especially like snowboarding too. I see people all the time not wearing helmets, and I'm like, if you crash, that's pretty much the same as you crashing on cement sometimes. I mean, here it's a little different because a lot of times there's powder, but it still hurts when you fall and when you hit your head. So,
definitely. Definitely. So wear your helmet even if you look silly on your bike, and especially if you're like off road where it's, a higher possibility of you falling. Of course, snowboarding is not really an option down here. Maybe wakeboarding, but I don't think people wear helmets for wakeboarding.
no. Although they probably should because I went wakeboarding this summer and I definitely face planted. So,
Yep. Yep. That hurts. But then, so. All right. Well, very cool. Any other questions for Miss Mary Spalding?
Nope.
No?
What's the worst thing you've seen during like the athletic training?
the worst thing I've seen is a girl was doing jumps on a plyo box and she hit it with her shin and it totally gashed open her leg and you could see her bone, you could see her muscle. It was a pretty gross one. And we've also had I've seen compartment syndrome. We've had a kid who got a T7 anterior wedge compression fracture in football that we couldn't tell was fractured because it was on the inside part of his spine and not on the back, so we couldn't palpate it. So that's one of the crazier ones I've seen, I'd say.
Ouch.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Anybody else? No? All right. Well, Mary, you can hang on and listen to the rest of the closing out thing, or you can hang up. It's up to you.
I'll hang on. Why not?
All right. All right. So we are about to wrap it up. Of course, there's certain people we always want to thank Pasadena ISD Education Foundation because now we have, you know, three different webcams, and if you're watching the live stream, then Lorena has been playing around with the video switching software, and so most of this equipment has come through the Education Foundation, some of it through Donors Choose, and and friends like Dr. Amber Cole, a physical therapist, that donated to provide one of the extra webcams so that we can do cooler things like this and provide a better experience all around. So Memorial Herman continues to support us and those kind of things. And then the new software that I'm using is Minicam. It allows you to switch between webcams and stuff like that. And I got that from Mark Cockrell from Element OP Productions. So I just email him all the time, and he sends me stuff. So if you're looking to do a podcast, check him out, Mark Cockrell at Element OP Productions. So again, he does that stuff for me for free, and so I just want to continue to support and promote him. I'm gonna go ahead and echo Mary's words of wisdom. There is wear a helmet. So if you're doing something where you can crash, just protect your head. There's no reason not to. All right. So I'd rather look silly than spend my life in a coma or something like that. So. All right. If you want to contact us, www.pasadenaisd.org/phs/athletic training, and then all the links for everything are on the side there. And then just about every Wednesday, we have the live stream, which is on Ustream. And then you can join in the conversation via the Today's Meet, which is also linked on our website. So go to our website and check all that stuff out.
And follow us on Twitter. It's at PHS Sports Med, Google Plus PHS Athletic Training, or Facebook.com/PHS Athletic Training, or the office phone, which is 713-740-0312, extension 01312.
And then I haven't even checked if the app still works. Does it still work, Leslie?
I think it does.
All
I'm
right.
not sure. I haven't checked.
So there's the app there. It's an easier way to listen to the podcast if you really want to, but it's also on all sorts of other things like Stitcher and Podfeed and all this other stuff. So if you want to, I just Googled it today, sports medicine broadcast, and it was like the top 10 things there because of the different sites that it's on. So if you want to listen to it, Google it. But if you're already listening to it, you probably already know where to find it. So it's kind of pointless, I guess. All right. So for Jeremy,
Claudia.
Leslie,
Monica,
Karen,
Priscilla.
Caitlin, Daisy.
the rest of the sports medicine class, and Mary, that's a wrap.
Thank you.
All right. So Mary, did you get to see it?
I did. My internet on my laptop cut out right at the end. So
Oh, goodness.
All right. So what did you think about the live feed there?
I thought it was pretty cool. This is a nice setup you guys have. I'm kind of jealous. I wish we had this when I was in high school.
It's so fun. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it
have,
is.
I
didn't
have fun
get-
in this class.
Yeah, we got a athletic training, like high school program like you guys have the year after I graduated. Because they were like, oh, kids actually have interest in this. Let's start it.
Yeah, it seems to always work that way. So, all right. Well, very cool. I will send you the link to this once it's all up and running, and then if there's anything else I could do for you, let me know. Or anytime you want to
All right.
come back, maybe in a year or two, you can come and talk to us about your medical experience or your med school experience, something like that. So
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
it was a
Thanks for
pleasure.
having me.
Bye.
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 My gosh, it was looking like